In 1 Corinthians chapter 3, Paul continues on with the theme that he's developed in the first two chapters. He's going to talk some more about Apollos and Paul and this whole sort of thing that the Corinthians were sort of being sucked into, this idea that you have your favorite teachers and preachers and apostles and that sort of thing. He says in verse 1, "Dear brothers and sisters, when I was with you, I couldn't talk to you as I would to spiritual people. I had to talk to you as though you belonged to this world or as though you were infants in Christ." He said, "I had to feed you with milk, not with solid food, because you weren't ready for anything stronger, and you still aren't ready," he said. He said, "You're controlled by the sinful nature," and that's proven by this whole sort of jealousy and quarreling thing, saying, I follow Paul, I follow Apollos. And remember, the theme of the whole letter is Paul is trying to give them instructions about how to live as Christians because they were pretty immature and dysfunctional. But we're still in these first few chapters, we're still dealing most specifically with this whole thing of sort of quarreling and jealousy and sort of having their favorite preachers and following their favorite preachers and sort of taking the focus off of Christ and putting the focus onto people, whether it's Paul or Apollos or anyone. And Paul is trying to get them to not do that. He said, "I planted the seeds in your hearts." Remember, Paul is the one who planted the church in the first place. And he says Apollos watered it, but it was God who made it grow. It's not important who does the planting or who does the watering. What's important is that God makes the seed grow. Maybe you can think about that for your own life. Who did God use in your own life to help lead you to faith? And I think if there's anything you can learn from this passage here, it's that you shouldn't worship that person. Whether it was a teacher or a pastor or even just a friend or a parent or an individual, you should always remember to worship the God that person pointed you to. He says in verse 10, "Because of God's grace to me, I've laid the foundation like an expert builder, and now others are building on it. But whoever is building on this foundation must be very careful, for no one can lay any foundation other than the one we already have, Jesus Christ." And so we see this, again, this theme for Paul. He's just trying to drive this point home. Don't make it about anyone else but Jesus. Be centered on Jesus because it's all about Jesus. What a great message in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. So you can go ahead and read that, and we'll see you tomorrow for chapter 4.